Now, central Illinois is considered home to a lot of creepy and weird things. I consider it to be one of the most haunted places in the United States. Now, the Peoria area is sort of a hotspot for activity. Grandview Drive in Peoria Heights is considered to be one of the most beautiful drives in America, but it's also the most haunted. Now, the earliest ghost reports go back to 1907 when it was reported in the newspaper that on a nightly basis, people riding in their horse and carriages were being chased by a specter. The reports continue much after this, though, that there is a ghost who's seen on Grandview Drive that chases cars. There are reports of these lights, these orbs that are seen on the hillside, and when people approach them, they seem to move or disappear. There are phantom joggers, phantom cars. There is an old legend at the end of Grandview Drive that when you drive up the hill at night, you might see a man standing in the middle of the road. There are people who said they've heard Indian chants coming from the woods or disembodied voices. Now, the oldest legend of this area is that of the Peoria Heights Water Tower, which is on the beginning of the Grandview Drive. Now, it's this tall red water tower with an observation deck on top that you can actually go and look and see views of the Illinois River. But the story goes in the 1970s, supposedly there was this high school girl who was distraught after her boyfriend broke up with her on prom night. So she went to the tower and went to the top and jumped off the side. It's said that when she fell to the ground, her blood spattered on the side of this tower. And despite efforts trying to clean this, they could not get the blood stain off, so they painted the tower red. Now, there's no documentation to actually prove this story, but still, there are people who report seeing the ghost of a young girl. In fact, I talked to someone who worked at the tower, and they said at night they would have to go up to the observation deck and make sure that it was completely clear. Well, when they go to the top observation deck, they see a woman standing by the ledge. And when they go to tell her it's closing time, she simply vanishes. So after that night, she did not want to go up there at night alone. There are people in the area who've reported they were sitting in the bench and they seen a woman walk by and sort of vanish right in front of their eyes. It's also reported along Grandview Drive of a ghost ship that is believed to be the steamboat, the Columbia, that had crashed on the Illinois River and rivaled the Titanic in people that had passed away. Now, not too far from Grandview Drive, along Prospect, you will find the downtown Peoria Heights area, which there are a lot of businesses located in very old buildings. One specifically is that of Sullivan's, which is considered by a lot of previous workers to be very haunted. Everything from bottles falling off shelves to seeing people out of the corner of their eyes to workers being afraid to go down in the basement. It's definitely believed that this place was possibly built on an old Indian burial ground. Now, we also are home to one of the oldest historical cemeteries in the area, known as the Springdale Cemetery. A lot of Peoria's past residents are buried here, and it's said that they still return to view the beautiful city that they loved. One of the more seen ghosts in this cemetery is that of the White Lady, who is often seen near the creek and pavilion, bent over a tombstone crying, and when people approach her to see if she's all right, she turns around and is often seen without a face. She's also said to be seen running along the hills and the rows of tombstones, gallantly strolling through the cemetery. There have been several reports of people seeing dogs that they follow into an area that is the old pet cemetery. There are reports of this black car that's seen late at night driving around when the cemetery gates were locked, and this is known as the Phantom Car. There is a mausoleum that a lot of kids believed if you went there at midnight and you knocked on it, something would not knock back. There are also reports of a pond that is seen in the middle of the cemetery, except no pond exists. However, in the 1930s and 1940s, there was a pond in this exact location, but people have reported swimming in this pond and fishing and, having leisurely activities at night, only to discover there was no pond in the cemetery. But probably the scariest of all the ghosts in Springdale Cemetery is that of the caretaker's ghost, which is said to be seen in the back of the cemetery and chase young teenagers attempting to visit the cemetery at night. Some of the other haunted locations in Peoria are that of Emack and Bolios, which is downtown. Apparently the old owner who had fell down the stairs one day and passed away is seen in and around this building, and often seen late at night. There is another legend known as California Road in Pekin, and many stories and legends have spawned out of this area, but supposedly if you're driving down this road at night, you will see a young woman walking on the road. If you give her a ride, she will vanish, or sometimes she vanishes right in front of your own eyes. Um, the other areas in Peoria that tend to be most haunted is there is an old cabin that is said to be by the river, and a lot of teenagers would sneak there at night and go along these trails. And it is documented that someone had taken their life there and was found by some young teenagers. But people say when you go there, still to this day, you can hear screams, knocking sounds, and people have even been reported being chased by a guy out of the cabin. Now, the Bartonville Insane Asylum, which at one time was this huge facility along Pfeiffer Road. Well, the oldest story is that of a bookbinder who was actually a patient at the Bartonville Insane Asylum, and he was given the responsibility of burying the patients who had passed away. And it said on his funeral, there were all of these people in attendance, and they had witnessed him standing next to a tree, crying as he often did when he would bury the other patients. And even Dr. Zeller himself wrote that he witnessed this along with hundreds of other people. And still to this day, people say you can see the ghost of old bookbinder hanging out near the elm tree next to where he's buried. There are many stories that come out of the old insane asylum itself, where people would say they would see nurses walking the hallways. They would hear screams. There was a teddy bear supposedly on the 4th or 5th floor that would move by itself, that no one knew where it came from. But definitely going there at night, you would get a feeling of dread or a sensation that you were being watched. Peoria is also home to many UFO sightings, especially along Grandview Drive and the Illinois River. Most famously, there was a young son and his dad who were driving in their truck one night just a little bit outside of Peoria when they seen this bright light in the sky, and they noticed it was following their truck. Well, the next thing they knew, they were near the Quad Cities, and they were going in the wrong direction, and they had no idea how they had got to this point in time. And it was one of the well-known documented reports of alien abduction back in the 1980s. So what do you think? Do you have a ghost story about Central Illinois that you'd like to tell?